I mean, I think Steve Jobs said you can't connect the dots looking forward, but you can connect them looking back. And I think sometimes those dots, you just got to trust the dots. I've always believed that your network is your net worth. As an engineer, your day job is not to just sit at your desk and do some number crunching. It's well beyond that. A truly good product design engineer should design something so that the user feels like they've got that, oh, thank goodness this person knew what they were doing. The number of times you get knocked down, you're getting so close to that next step. And you know, people might think, you know, you've got these titles or these, but the number of times I've succeeded, I've failed 10, 100 times more. But I've always kept in my head, I've failed because I'm getting that step closer to success.
Mamta, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We got here in the end. It's taken months, but finally the two Scots are together in London.
We made it.
We made it. Thanks so much for coming on. It's a real honour to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. So let's find out all about your career. And yes, let's start off always. What sparked your interest in engineering?
Big question to
Big
start
question.
off. I just fascinated by how things are made and broken and put back together, and I think the curiosity. I don't think the term engineering was really at the forefront of my mind, but I just was drawn into like plugs and things that click together and mechanisms from quite a young age. So a bit of a stereotype, but I was constantly taking things apart and trying to put them back together. So yeah, I probably, looking back, I found my calling at quite a young age, just didn't realise it was called engineering.
I love that. I know when you think about it, you don't think of engineering or STEM when you're younger, do you? It's just, breaking things, fixing things, playing with Lego, in the garage, trying to make things happen. So when did it come about in terms of you going into studying engineering? Was it late on in school, early on in school? How did that come around?
I always excelled in maths. I come from quite a scientific family. So maths was always seen as a bit of a subject that you naturally just should excel in. So I thought maths was a game. Basically, I would do maths for fun. I know that's probably puts a lot of people off, but I probably saw maths as like, well, can I do another page of maths, please? So maths was always my strength. My dad's a physicist, so science was there. Family history of engineers back in India. So there was always a sense that you become a doctor or an engineer, an accountant, find a strong profession. I didn't realise I was going to become an engineer until Dyson was just kind of making his way back. This is the 90s, when I was a young child. And I thought, he's pretty cool. He's an inventor. That's got to be a job. And then just before that, there was the film Big, where Tom Hanks was a designer in the toy shop or toy factory. And I thought, well, kind of put the two together. There must be a way of becoming a toy engineer, right? I mean, everyone plays with toys. That's got to be a job for life. So, yeah, that was kind of my goal. I always wanted to work on children's items, things that did kind of made the world smile or did good in the world. And then fast forward, 10, 20 years, and I just had a vision that this is what I wanted to do and did it.
Amazing. I love it. And you studied at Glasgow with the Glasgow School of Art, is that right?
That's right.
How was that?
I was absolutely thrilled when I got in. Very difficult course to get into because you had to have that natural combination of being both technically very strong. Glasgow University is an incredibly difficult university for engineering, probably one of the oldest in the world for engineering. Strong reputation. James Watt School of Engineering, right? So, absolutely. And then the Glasgow School of Art, again, phenomenal artists and designers have come out of that school. So you've got the combination of both the technical and the creative, and you had to be strong on both. So to get into that course was perfect. Very tough course.
What did you find tougher? Was it the engineering or the kind of artistic side? What stood out, or just the engineering itself?
I think they were both easy and difficult in different ways. So a lot of the engineering stuff was quite easy to kind of understand, and then there was oftentimes some of the engineering stuff I needed a more time with. With the art school side, you found you had to be creative. So you can't always come up with a bright idea or way of thinking. So, but once you got that idea, it's almost like you found this, like that concept of flow. Like you just get absorbed by it, and then you're like, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to apply every bit of my energy to make this happen. So, it was a really nice balance. And looking back, it was probably the best experience to become a proper design engineer, but wouldn't relive those 4 years if I had my way.
And what part about design did you enjoy? Was there an aspect of design, and in particular, in the kind of, was it, the kind of technical CAD side of things? Was it the analysis of it? Was it the kind of more hand skills based? What about design stood out? Because obviously you mentioned about toys and product design. Just you naturally think of that, but what element of it stood out at the time?
I think I liked solving a real life problem. I liked thinking, right, engineers are problem solvers, right? We find there's problems around us, whether it's sustainability, whether it's how we interact with a piece of tooling or equipment, or how we turn something on, or for a lot of people out there, elderly, how do they open bottles? There's problems all around us. And I like the idea of taking a statement problem, and going, how am I going to solve this? How am I going to use my engineering brain, my problem-solving brain, my technical knowledge, my creative knowledge, so that this item that I'm going to come out with in a couple of months or weeks is going to look beautiful, because I've always had this very aesthetic way of looking at things, but also serve a problem and have a solution so that it looks great. And I guess that's, as we spoke about, I ended up at, doing my graduate placement at Dyson, and it was always about form and function. So it should have a function, but the form should be beautiful as well. And I've always held that kind of ethos, is that we're not just developing something that solves a problem, it should be beautiful to look at.
I feel like I'm listening to my kind of idol, Steve Jobs. Like, so Steve Jobs is like,
Steve Jobs.
everything that he stood for with Apple, and kind of what Apple probably still is to an extent, around producing product first and for like the customer to enjoy the experience, and for the rest of it to kind of flow from it. Sounds exactly what you've just mentioned. And I think of Apple, I think of Dyson, I think of these types of organisations with such visionary leaders that take that.
In my view, the product should adapt to the customer. You should never, or the user, it shouldn't be the other way around. You're thinking, oh, this doesn't feel right, doesn't interact with me in the way that I want it. A truly good product design engineer should design something so that the user feels like they've got that, oh, thank goodness this person knew what they were doing. And the minute you get a complaint, you know it's wrong, right? So you've not done a good job. And I've always held that you should enjoy interacting with the product that you've developed and think it's great. So it's all about something that you'll put on your table and think, that's quite nice to look at. Yeah,
exactly. That's amazing. So when you're at university, at what point was it, I'm going to get into toys? Because I know that you went from Dyson and you went to where you wanted to be at Hasbro. What was the moment where you thought, I need to target that role?
I remember doing, I think it was either my second or third year, and I developed a little buggy that went around theme parks for children, when they got tired, and you've got two little kids, they get tired, and developed a little buggy. And I just loved the colours and we're all big kids at heart, right? We love toys. And I thought, the children are such vulnerable people, and we actually don't think that they get scared and they get worried as well. And how do you design a world that's so adaptable for them? So I initially thought I'd go into medical products for children, because you go into a hospital, a lot of the medical equipment is kind of grey or blue. It's not fun, it's not interactive, it's quite a daunting environment for a child. So I was trying to tackle a lot of my projects around adapting the world for vulnerable people. And so I designed that little buggy, and then in my final year I designed medical products. And I was very fortunate to get absolutely phenomenal job at Hasbro as a graduate, 23, to be working for the world's biggest toy company, and working out in LA and Boston. Some of the projects you had to, Star Wars, The Lord of the Rings, Action Man.
That is amazing.
It was an absolute dream, and absolutely, people were just passionate to work on great brands, great toys, right?
Yeah.
So it was a fantastic start to my career, and it was a bit of a pinch me moment. And I did move away from home. It was a really big step as somebody quite probably protected in Glasgow to move to London with no connections. But I just loved my Monday to Friday. My weekends were quite quiet, but yeah, I just loved the environment. So yeah, four very happy years at Hasbro.
You mentioned something a minute ago that stands out in, a lot of what engineer career stands for is helping the next generation of engineers see where they can get to. And you said at the start that you had a goal and you fixed yourself on that goal, and it sounds to me like you achieved it quite quickly. But obviously you've done so much over your career. What's important for students and engineering graduates and those at the start of their career to recognise in their career to help them achieve their goal?
For me, I very early on realised engineering's not easy, right? And I think with any job you do, you're going to have these really tough moments, whether it's getting up at the crack of dawn to catch that flight or working long hours on projects. So you've got to have a real passion for something. So unless you've got that drive and determination and saying, right, this is what I want to do. And I know it's a bit maybe cliche to have a vision, have a, manifest it, think about it. But I think really have that thought that I'm going to make this happen. What do I need to do to get from A to B? And I think in a lot of cases, when I look at my successes, there hasn't been a plan B, rightly or wrongly. It's like, you've got to make this work because you have no other choice, right? You literally need to put in the hours. You're going to have to tell your friends you're not going out that evening because this is going to work. So what I would say to graduates is understand your strengths, see where your real passion is and your purpose. Like, what is driving you to actually do this? And I really wanted to engineer things so we made the world better, happier, more enjoyable, right? Doing engineering good in some ways, because I think engineers are talented, gifted people, and we've got a responsibility and do that something better. So find that avenue that makes you feel passionate, but also recognise what you're not good at. What do you not want to do, right? I didn't want to work in the oil industry, for example. So I just knew I scored off a whole load of companies that weren't for me. I knew the kind of environment. For me, the culture of a company is fundamental. You're going to be there a long time, many hours. So really focus on the culture, because the people and the kind of practices of that business make a company. And I've walked away from companies because I didn't enjoy the culture, but actually I recognised it, and actually that's not great for your soul.
Yeah. I love that, what you've just shared there. I say it quite frequently. You find your passion, you find your purpose, but reverse it. Find your purpose, it can help you find your passion. And you're right, once you find it and chase it. And I like how you mentioned that not having a plan B. That's confidence in where you want to go, and ultimately being resilient to get there. Yeah. Might be tough, but doing it is huge. I mean, I said to you beforehand, you and I could do a podcast series on you. I don't even know how to get through all this in one episode. But you've worked for companies like Coca-Cola. You're at Mattel. Like, what stands out across your career so far within your day job? Because I know you've done so much more. I want to dive into with the IET and obviously your new role within it. But what stands out across your career so far that as a something you're really proud of and that success?
I think it wasn't really an engineering thing. I was always being true to myself. I'm driven by integrity and ethics. If I didn't see something right, I made sure I told somebody. And I'm a true believer that you find people in industry in those companies that are one or two levels above you, so you can kind of go like, I'm not in a good space here. Something's not right. Something's not feeling good. I'm not enjoying it. I want to stay here. How do I make this work? So I'm always driven by that thought of, I can't be fake. I do things because I intentionally enjoy it and I like it. So how do you get to a point in these companies where the culture is really working for you? You feel like you're wanted. And if you're not wanted, you've got to figure out a way of how to make it work or not work. So very much the environment is key. The people that you work with are key, because you're going to work in tough projects. It's going to be hard work, but keeping a smile on your face through those slightly tough moments is definitely fundamental. And I'm very lucky. I've met some amazing people through my career, and I think good people meet good people, and you always feel like, you know, you don't get to where you get to single-handedly. You know, you've got an army behind you that are supporting you, and I support the others. So I think that the key theme is I've always made sure my manager has got a smile on their face, right? So it's like you need to know that they want you there.
Yeah. No, I love that. Thanks a lot for that advice. It's invaluable advice for those that are ultimately building their way, and it's quite a scary jump from university into the workplace. Imposter syndrome, most people get it, not everyone shows it. But yeah, it's incredibly important to get that advice from someone with such vast experience that you've got. One topic which I'm really excited to talk about is you're the incoming global vice president of the IET, and we'll talk about what that role means to you in a minute. But you've seen the value in an institution since the start of your career. Talk to us about the IET and what it means to you.
Gosh, I don't even know where to start with it. The Institution of Engineering Technology. So 2006, 2007, so it was, our common friend, Dr. Jill McBride, she put me forward for the Young Women Engineer of the Year. And I went on to win the WES Prize. So we're almost talking 20 years ago, just short of 20 years. And I remember very vividly getting the flight down from Glasgow and walking up the stairs of Savoy Place, slightly nervous, but I also know it was going to change my life if I'd won one of these prizes. And I remember meeting the team there and just thinking, wow, all these women that are 10 or 15 years older than me, very established in their career. Here was me, kind of quite fresh graduate, but they were so supportive and just, they wanted you to do well. And I think it was the first time in my career I felt there was women like I looked up to. And like now we're 20 years on and I still in touch with, and I say they've watched me grow up. So I'm always very thankful to the Institution of Engineering Technology for what they've helped me achieve and what I want to pass on that baton and let the next generation do. But I'm a firm believer. I'm always thankful to the people that have helped me through my career, through my charity work, because I think we owe it as women in the field to help the others come up the ladder. And I always say to the women that I mentor, I want you to do much better than me.
I love that. Wow. That is powerful. I mean, as someone that's got two wee girls, I don't even, having role models is something that has become more apparent to me in the last few years. I mean, my sister's a huge role model to my daughters, but across, I don't know if my daughters will be engineers. Hope they are. I won't force them into it. But I said this to you beforehand, since starting an engineer career, the amount of role models that I see that are females, that are women building not only their own career but leading the engagement for engineering is unbelievable. I don't think people quite realise it, and I see it so much, and I'm so inspired by people like yourself and people like, I don't even want to name everyone, but you know all the names, and And it means so much to me as someone that's chasing role models for my daughters to see what they can be within
But
our great industry.
I also see it as our duty and purpose. If we don't do it, who will? And if we don't take that time out of our day job or take those annual leaves to do what we're doing to support the next generation of engineers, we're doing them a disservice, because it is our responsibility. And I'm aware of what kind of those women that are 10 or 15 years older than me have done for me. And if I don't pass on that baton and support, at least a handful of women, or say to them, you're doing great and I'm here for you, we're not going to get parity in this profession.
With that topic in mind, what can I do to help ensure that we chase that parity and we get more women in engineering?
So we definitely need male allies. We need men to step up and come to International Women in Engineering Day, to come to these events, because it's not just about women supporting women. It's about the whole community in engineering and beyond supporting women, because we need those the other people in the audience to say, actually, that girl had a good point, or that woman had a good point, and back us up. Mentor us, open a couple of doors, get us in front of the right people. And, I think about the men that have helped me in my journey, whether that be, family members or people in industry. And I'm blessed, but I've literally asked them to help me on a project or help me through a piece, and it's a confidence that they give me, and it's a determination, and it's you can do this, and if so-and-so can do it, why can't you? How are you? And I think it has been a learning for me, for sure, to just stay focused and actually just have a bit of a sounding board. So yeah, I guess the role that someone like yourself plays is back us up once in a while, just say, yeah, come on, you've knocked down, dust yourself off and come on, keep going.
I love it. No, thank you for that. Thanks for sharing that. So with the IET, the Institution of Engineering and Technology, there's obviously a network there that that you're now in and have been in, and how much you value your network. Because students, it's something I talk about, building your network right across the UK, right across the engineering world, because it can open up doors that you just don't know or ever believe you could get to. How's that network been for you?
I've always believed that your network is your net worth, right? If you have a strong network, whether in engineering, but I would always say go beyond, meet chemists, meet people in HR, meet people that are just good people, you'll benefit tenfold, right? As an engineer, your day job is not to just sit at your desk and do some number crunching. It's well beyond that. Absolutely, the IET has been phenomenal. I'm truly blessed with the women and men I've met through my journey, and the whole community there. I think engineering is a very collaborative profession. It's all about connections and the forums that you get part of. So I will sit through IET lectures that have got nothing to do with my day job. I probably understand, not a huge percentage of the lecture, but actually those little bits that I can then apply to my day job, or just feel like, actually, I might want to learn a little bit more about that, just because it's sparked that curiosity. And it keeps your brain kind of active, because you meet people and you learn a different perspective. You can learn from anyone, and everyone's got something to teach you. And you've got to keep having that brain that's a bit of a sponge. So, yeah, the IET has been a fantastic forum of learning for me, but also giving back. And I'm a huge believer that we must give back, because as much as it's about our journey, if we don't give back, we're really not doing enough.
I can't come away from the topic of the IET without asking you how you felt when you got elected as the vice president recently. I mean, you've got an MBE, you've got so many awards that I can't even list them all. But how did it feel getting that nomination?
So yeah, it felt like it was a long journey. So I've sat on the council, sat on the board, a handful of committees and boards as well. Vice presidency is obviously a step up for me. I take it with a lot of responsibility and determination. I'm aware it's not a small role now. So yeah, it probably started back in November, right? So for me, it's been 7 or 8 months of planning and thinking, how do I make this happen? And not all of it was under my, I had to obviously get elected on. But finding out, I think it's some kind of bit late. I remember being told unofficially, and then obviously the official news came out. I kind of got home going, about time, right? I should have, I think I would have been obviously very, very disappointed if I didn't get it. But I think I'm aiming to bring a very different perspective to the IET. Obviously, a very strong international background. I'm neurodiverse. I want to advocate a lot of the unsung voices that have been out there. I want to collaborate with policymakers, with people internationally. I want to break those stereotypes, and I know there's still a lot of stereotypes. I know when I'm talking to people and I tell them I'm an engineer, you do get that, really? Are you an engineer? But I was like, well, why not, right? So with that, I do hope that will encourage more people to go into the profession, because we've got a massive skill shortage, and it's a fantastic profession. I can't think of a better job to do. A better title to have after your name is a professional engineer, chartered engineer. It should be everyone's goal, in my mind. So it's it's a big step. I'm very pleased to get it, but interesting 3 years ahead for me.
That's going to be, based on everything you've done so far and your successes, then it's going to be a success. So I wish you all the best of it, and I'm excited to follow the next 3 years. It was amazing news when you sent it through to me, and because we'd lined up the recording already, and I was like, this is even better. I was like, look at the future vice president of the IT come on the podcast. This is amazing.
Let's just stick to vice president at the moment.
So always ask about mentors and role models, and how the importance of that network and those that you either look up to but also provide you that support mechanism have on your career. You've mentioned some people already, but what mentors and role models stand out for you across your career so far?
I've coined this term magic mentors. There's mentors that have been in my life and continue to be in my life, that they just help you unlock those sticky moments and those blocks. I've had career mentors, people in industry that have helped me. Vince, who's quite well known, he's phenomenal. And it's just developing that strategy of how to navigate things. What would happen if this happens? If I didn't get vice presidency, what would I be doing career-wise? If I did, what might be the next steps? But within industry, I've always tried to find one or two people that are a couple of levels above me that I can just go, you know what? Could we have a coffee chat? Can we just spend a bit of time? And it's great for them, because I think as a mentee, you learn a lot. But as a mentor, they love giving back, right? I like it when people ask me, Mamta, can you help me navigate this or talk it through? Because you gain a lot by knowing people that have got a little bit more life experience and lived through some tough career moments or life moments. And it's helped form a bit of a plan for me and stop me worrying so much. Or stressing about things, and finding things that actually do make me happy, rather than just doing a job because you've got to do a job. Yeah,
exactly. That's really interesting. So in terms of because you're still very much an engineer, there's a lot of people who build a career and move into engineering. Opens up so many opportunities within the kind of corporate roles, within the project management space. Yeah. What's the next couple of years looking like in terms of your kind of day-to-day?
Gosh, I'm not sure. I know that I want to obviously continue working or doing my charity work for the Institution of Engineering and Technology, and obviously as you move up the ladder, it's more intense and more responsibility. Work-wise, sustainability is always a big passion of mine and will continue to be. I think it's a massive world problem. It's a global problem that we've got, and if we can all do a little bit to solve it. So continue working in product manufacturing and development, supply chain management, but with a very strong sustainability and, reducing waste, recycling, refilling angle. Obviously worked quite heavily in the drinks industry, so that's going to be a big part. I've also think there's a need to also do a self-reflection and realise that engineering can be tough and we need downtime. So I've recently become the kind of founder of a start-up kind of called the Top Percent Club. And I called it Top Percent Club because to be a woman in engineering, you're kind of in the top percent already, you know, by default, you're in the top, whatever, 17%. And then to reach in your 40s at quite a senior level, you're the top of the top. So without, you know, I've called it, and I've got a community now of women who I want to support because they're juggling a lot. And it's a network to ensure they stay in the profession and they get the support they need. I haven't got a master plan of solving that, but I definitely see there's a massive need of helping women, not just in their early career or mid-career, but actually as they move into their 40s and 50s and 60s and saying, how can we navigate the challenges that you're going to face? You've reached quite a high level in industry. You're juggling family, you're juggling life outside, difficult situations, and actually you might just want to meet up for a coffee and not talk about work for once, or not talk about engineering, and just want to have some friends to just be around, so you're not going to feel like it's always about doing stuff. Because when you're at the top, the altitude's higher, right, and it's harder to sometimes breathe, and it's just giving people that breathing space.
Yeah. I love entrepreneurial stories. As a fellow startup, if there's anything the engineer career can do to support you and the Top Percent Club, then we're here to support that. And with you're saying, you know, there's no grand plan. I'm sure there is. But there's definitely, you know, around retention, around, you know, women in engineering, around how we maximise technology and AI and all these good things. Yeah, I'm excited to see how that begins to evolve over the coming months. So, as I always ask my guests in terms of engineering and the wide and all the sectors and all the different areas within it, is there an area away from the kind of product design love that you have an interest in within engineering? Obviously we saw recently Artemis taking off, going around the moon. Yeah. We've got your Formula One, you've got, as you mentioned, oil and gas, you've got construction, you've got net zero. Is there anything that stands out that you have a vested interest in away from your love of product design?
I think my product design will always be my first love.
Yes.
I'm fascinated by products. I mean, dare I say, do I look and go out in the shops and figure out how toothbrushes are made and what have you? But I think obviously security and AI are going to be a big thing. It's not my area of expertise, don't understand it to the level but I think as a community we really need to see how we can get from the clunky kind of manufacturing side that I'm probably involved in to the digital side. And the way that I see myself navigating that is the digital footprint that products leave behind. So a lot of products that I have worked on in the past, where they're going to end up landfill, but actually how do you retrieve that through a digital kind of recovery process? So you might hear of a deposit return scheme. So when I worked in one of the companies, we were very much looking at how do you retrieve waste through digital manufacturing or digital footprinting. And so that's kind of combining my first love of engineering with other aspects. And I think that's why it's so fundamental that we as engineers keep our knowledge breadth as wide as possible, and continuous professional development is important, right? Because things are changing so quickly, we can't keep up. And that's why, again, your network is good, because you'll always find experts if you keep looking around.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's really interesting. And talking about your competencies and your profession and maintaining it, I think this question is probably kind of a bit ridiculous here, given what you've achieved. But professional goals for the future, I don't know how many else you could achieve. But what's the future looking like? Do you have, because when you've got to a stage where you've ticked off most things, it must be quite difficult to think what to achieve next. So do you have any goals for the future?
I think professional goals are not just titles and degrees. I think as I go through my engineering career, it's the flexibility. It's actually saying, I don't want to work today, or, can I do this in the evening? Or, I think we need to understand that we want the flex. What's today's luxury is actually spending time doing great things like this and giving back. So professional goals for me, I obviously want to see Top Percent Club get maybe some government support or support from some really influential people so we can continue building that network, because I definitely think there's a need for that. Obviously, continue my work with the Institution of Engineering, Technology, and the surrounding, community that, obviously we work with the other institutions and groups. I do want to continue with a lot of my public speaking. I think there are stories to be told and people that need role models, but also them to have the confidence. I don't want this to be about me. I want this to be about them, and ensuring that they get the support, because I don't want women, particularly women, to leave the profession. And we're seeing a big dropout rate of women in the profession. And why is that? So I think that is one of my drivers. I'm very passionate about neurodiverse individuals. One goal would ideally be to start changing the education system and supporting these neurodiverse individuals in early stages of childhood and schooling, to ensure they understand the benefits of going into something like engineering, which is quite a visual profession. Language skills are not as essential. I do think there's a lot of aspects of the education system that are quite dated. I know that it didn't suit me, and yet, where I've got to is testament of sometimes the student that's not bright academically or in the classroom is actually intellectually still quite sharp. So it's actually that balance. And so changing the narrative around what success looks like and what people can do, because, I'm not here for the glory. It's kind of here to make change and leave a legacy of some sort. So I do, at some point, want to kind of think about a Singhal Foundation, so that particularly young students who are struggling financially can get support, and like myself, can get books paid for or something like that. So long-term goal is to build a legacy under the family name.
That's so inspiring, and that sounds unbelievable. So full support behind all of that. I think you touched on some really interesting points there around kind of behaviours, and not everyone's the same, and that's absolutely fine. That's something that I champion so much at the moment for engineering, is capability-led engineering. Not we all have to be this square, in a box. We need all different types of behaviours: introverted, extroverted. We need the people that can sit behind a computer and churn it out. We need the people that can be the communicators, the leaders. We need every sort of behaviour, not just not everyone has to have all the behaviours. You mentioned earlier on, you said knowing your strengths, but also recognising the things that you're not. And I think that ties back into that. That every one individual can be that individual.
Exactly.
And it's the kind of sum of all those. It's the sum of the individuals that creates what is our industry. And
it's that self-reflection, is actually saying, I'm not great at this. I've accepted it. I'm never going to excel. But what am I strong at? I'm a strong believer that you play to your strengths. And if you play to your strengths, you will succeed, because there's no point in spending time, trying to master a weakness, right? And I think with success, you've got to realise you can only be successful if you failed 9 times. So actually each failure is getting you closer to that success. So the number of times you get knocked down is actually you're getting so close to that next step. And people might think, you've got these titles or these, but trust me, the number of times I've succeeded, I've failed 10, 100 times more. But I've always kept in my head, I've failed because I'm getting that step closer to success.
I love it. Absolutely love it. If you're a graduate listening to this and you're trying to get a job right now, you need to listen to Mamta, because that's that moment. It's the moment the knockbacks are building you to get to the point where you get the job. And when you get the job, you'll look back and you will feel exactly what you said there, Mamta, which is the failure, the knockbacks were the fuel that again got me to where I'm actually at now.
Absolutely. And I think the job market is tough, right? We need to accept that.
Yeah.
And if you do get those knockbacks from those job interviews, don't be shy in saying to the recruiter or the company, what could I have done better? And accept that feedback and dig for that feedback, because every time you get something, a knockback or something that's not what you wanted, there is a lesson to be learned, and actually you learn more from those lessons than those successes. And a really good story is I applied to Hoover for a job and I was gutted I didn't get it. And I remember probably being a little bit cheeky and saying, I'm going to get a job at Dyson. And this is when Dyson and Hoover were probably, and what did I do? But two months later, I got a job at Dyson. So I think it's just knowing that actually I didn't get that for a reason. There's always, I think, there's a little bit of the path's already paved. You just don't know it. I think Steve Jobs said you can't connect the dots looking forward, but you can connect them looking back. And I think sometimes those dots, you just got to trust the dots.
Love it. Oh, dropping Steve Jobs quotes. This is unbelievable. This has been amazing, man. I'm genuinely so kind of proud and chuffed to have had you on the podcast. You're just everything you stand for, everything that you've built across your career. I almost feel I'm doing you a disservice in a way, because if you're listening to this and you just go into Mamta's LinkedIn and look at it all, look at the. I feel like I'm speaking to people right now. This is so important. Go and look at the post, which I was speaking to Mamta about beforehand, where she announced her vice presidency at the IET, and look at all the people who commented underneath it. I was so inspired by that, because that's people who support you, who are proud of you, who are inspired by you, who have probably mentored you, who you've mentored, and like the hundreds of people who are commenting to me was just like, that's someone that I look up to. And
there are also people that have probably helped me through my journey. And in that post, I was very much clear that this is not just a professional achievement for me; it's a personal achievement. It's a stake in the ground, right? Somebody did say it's time you kind of shake up the profession a bit, right? And I mean that in a kind of quite gentle way. I want to walk into rooms and tell people I'm an engineer, and that I like that kind of reaction. What really? Because what is an engineer? What do they look like? How do they behave? What do they sound like? Do they really think an Asian girl with a Scottish accent can be an engineer? Absolutely, right. We all can. We've all got that engineering talent in us. We just probably haven't fueled it or got the support. And when we've got an industry where we've got so few engineers, we actually need to find a way of inspiring those less stereotypical engineers to become engineers.
Love it. This is perfect stuff. Thank you so much, Mamta. I'm going to finish off, like I always do, with what keeps you passionate about engineering. I think it was my calling, right? I've always kind of joked, engineering found me. I knew I liked maths, and I somehow feel if I didn't do engineering, I don't know what I would have done in my life. So I think that's what keeps me driving, is there is no plan B, Mamta. You're going to make this work, right? Because this is it. What keeps me passionate is all the other men and women in the community that support me and cheer me on, and seeing them succeed. Every success I see in my community of engineers is success for the profession, right? So I make sure I clap for all those women and men and everyone that does great things in engineering. Again, engineers are here to make positive change in the world, right? Make a difference, make the world better. If I see that, that's my purpose. That's me. I've got a friend that's just won an award. Amazing, right? I'll make sure I'm cheering that person on. So I guess what keeps me going is knowing that we are change makers, positive change makers in the sector, and we're doing things with ethics, with integrity, with teamwork, and we're driven by a need to make kind of an impact on the world. I think the perception of who an engineer is or what an engineer has changed, and I think we are very much seeing a change in that. Engineers are pretty cool. We're quite smart people, but we're also quite logical. We get things done, right?
So I think we definitely have a massive role in the global society, and I think the next 20, 30 years are very exciting for the profession, and that's what kind of keeps me going, is I want to see that happen.
Awesome. So thank you so much for being on the podcast, Mamta.